Hi everyone, Bandanner here. I hope you're all doing well today. Welcome back to the RTS Cast and Stuff channel. Remember to hit that subscribe button and stick a like on the video if you haven't already. Today, as part of the Game Knowledge series, we're going to take a look at armor penetration. First, we're going to take a look at the usual calculations, which I've covered on the main channel before, but it's good to revisit these for new players, which are the heat and the kinetic energy calculations. So that will cover things like ATGMs and obviously the majority of tank cannons. And then at the end, I'll show you a table which will make you wish you had never bothered asking, how does damage work in WARNO? Once again, I've linked the WarYes Discord down below in the description if you wish to join there and have a look at all of this and read it yourself. It is provided over there by Nalad, who gets all this information from the game files and is a wizard with this kind of thing. So, we're going to start with the calculations for high explosive anti-tank or heat rounds and also kinetic energy rounds. We'll do them each in turn. First, there's a little rule set to follow, which is a special case rule set that applies to both. So, if the armor of the target is less than 1, then the damage becomes 2 times the armor penetration value. So, if your armor penetration value is 15, you do 30 armor penetration, or 30 damage as the case may be, and that unit is dead. If the armor of the unit you're attacking is 1, then the damage is equal to the armor penetration value. So once again, if we said we had 15 armor penetration, then we would be doing 15 damage. Once the armor goes above 1, we need to start doing the actual damage calculations. So let's start with the high explosive anti-tank calculation. This is probably the more complex calculation of the two. As you can see on the screen now, there is a handy reference table to make this easier. I will link this down below and it's also available on the WarYes Discord. But let's have a look through the calculation. The first thing you have to do for this calculation is calculate the AP difference. So the armor penetration value minus the actual armor. If this difference is less than 10, you have a very simple calculation. If, however, it's more than 10, there are 2 separate parts to the calculation. For any difference that is less than or equal to 10, you can take the resulting number, divide it by 2, and add 1 to get your damage number. That is up to a maximum of 6. So, for example, if I have 12 penetration and they have 2 armor, then the resulting difference is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Plus 1 is 6, and that is the damage I would do to the unit. If, however, the difference is greater than 10, you must do a second part to the calculation. Let's have another example. I have a 20 AP heat round, and my enemy has 7 armor. 20 minus 7 is 13 AP difference. For the first 10 of this, we would do our previous calculation. The difference divided by 2 plus 1 equals 6. For the remaining 3, we have to do 1 armor penetration equals 1 damage. So we would do an additional 3 damage. That is 6 plus 3, so we would do 9 damage in total. I guess a good little tip there that Nalad has included is that you need 14 armor penetration difference to one-shot a unit. So if I have an ATGM that does 24 damage and you have 10 armor, then I can kill you in one hit. There are 2 additional things we should mention about heat rounds. Unlike kinetic energy rounds, the closer you get, your armor penetration does not increase. It is fixed for all heat rounds. I suppose one thing to mention here is the tandem charge trait, which is where some ATGM missiles have the tandem warhead and therefore do an additional +1 damage to enemy units with the ERA trait. Okay, what about kinetic energy rounds, which are the standard rounds you would fire from a tank? Well, this damage calculation is very straightforward. We've pretty much already done it once. It is simply the AP minus the armor, divide that result by 2, and then add 1, which gives you your damage. If we take our previous example of 7 armor and 20 armor penetration but kinetic energy this time, we would do 20 minus 7, which gives us 13. We would divide that by 2, giving us 6.5, and then we would add 1, giving us 7.5 damage in total. Nice and straightforward, and again, here is a table for that, and I'll include the link down below. A few additional little pieces that are relevant to kinetic energy rounds. One of those is that your AP value increases the closer you get to your target, with a gain of 1 armor penetration value per 175 meters. The AP value you see on the stat card is the AP value at maximum range, aka your minimum value of armor penetration, because the closer you get, the higher it gets. The other thing to note would be that against most tanks that have 10 HP, you need an 18 armor penetration difference to one-shot that unit. Okay, and the last thing I want to show you here is this table. Kindly provided by Naled. Again, it is over on the WarYes Discord if you would like to look at it. This is what I was talking about when I said you wish you'd never asked about armor penetration values. In the grand scheme of things, this thing is all over the place. It's got various weapon types with various penetrations over various different armor types and units and everything else. Unfortunately, most of it makes absolutely no sense to me, because looking at the calculation, for example, provided by Naled on the WarYes Discord, that relates to cluster penetration, none of those numbers match up with what's here. So at that point, I don't know if this table's out of date, if the calculation that Naled did is out of date, or if I'm just missing something completely. Naled is also currently away, so I can't hassle him. So I'm going to leave it at this for now. The heat round stuff and the kinetic energy round stuff and the machine gun stuff is perfectly fine. Everything else will have to wait for a later date, and we may revisit it to show calculations. But there you go. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all soon for some more WARNO Game Knowledge.